All right, so today in reading, what we ended up doing is we went through our resource notebook and we added something to our central idea. We talked about how we probably should include the purpose in the central idea. And so we went back to page 44 in our resource notebook and we added this piece in. So instead of just saying title discusses who did what, when, where, we said title is a, and then we put the purpose text that. And it'll make sense as we go down here. So we added this in. So this is something that you're going to need to add into your resource notebook. And then if you have your resource notebook, awesome, you can do that. If you don't have your resource notebook, you'll need to do this when you get back, and you'll have to show me. So make sure you do that. You can also take a picture of it, but then you'd have to rewrite the rest of this, which if you do that, that's fine too. So anyway, so instead of saying Vampires of the Deep discusses how sea lampreys, blah, 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 we're going to say Vampires of the Deep is an informational text that discusses how. So it's essentially the same. We're just adding 5 words in here because I think the purpose of the text is really important. So we went down in here as well to A Toilet on the Moon. We talked about how the toilet on the moon is informational. We have to think about the purpose that the author intended. So just because it may say something else in the that like is entertaining to us. So the example I used is maybe there is an article on Minecraft. For some kids who really like Minecraft, they would be entertained by that. However, I'm not into Minecraft, so for me it's kind of boring. So it's more of an informational piece. So you need to think about how the author is using it and what the intended purpose is versus how I'm taking that information. Okay? So Toilet on the Moon. So we just added A Toilet on the Moon is an informational text that discusses. So again, we just added those 5 words. Okay? The last one that we ended up putting in for together was this one for Her Designs Are Helping the Planet. Again, we just added those in there. But for purpose can be informational. It can be persuasive. It can be argumentative. It can be reflective. It can be entertaining. There's lots of different ways that it could be. This one, we are kind of on the fence of, is it informational or is it persuasive? And sometimes authors can have 2 different purposes, and maybe you just pick the one that suits it the best. For me, I went ahead and just chose persuasive because the information and the facts that were presented made me think about it more in the sense of I need to kind of think about, well, should I get rid of these clothes? How can I reuse these clothes? How can I use them to get the most out of them? Because of the detail of saying, it takes this much water to make a new shirt. Okay, so if you don't agree with that, you think it's more informational, put informational. That's okay. Okay, and then after we did that, you guys had from last class another central idea for the buffalo article. And you guys wrote that on page 45 in your resource notebook. So what I asked the class to do is for them to write those 5 words with that central idea. So they just need to make sure to put in, it is an informational text that, because the buffalo piece, Return of the Buffalo, is informational. Okay, so just make sure that those 5 words get put into that same central idea for Return of the Buffalo. Okay, so make sure that gets in there. If you choose to write it, take a picture of it, that's great. But otherwise, it's going to be in as missing until I see it. So just make sure that you get that done and come show me. All right? Okay. So then after we ended up doing that, we talked about where we're going to for reading. And I'm going to show you a couple of things because this is something that you will need to get from me when you get back. So just like we did last quarter, we had a checklist. And we're going to have a checklist this quarter with central idea and summarizing. So this tells you the different things that you need to accomplish and how to do it. We ended up doing the brainstorming together, which I'll talk to you about in a second. And then, so this is the checklist like we did last quarter, sorry. And then we also have this. This is the brainstorming. This is something new than last quarter. This right here, this is the attributes of a strong response. It has what to include in the central idea and also has what to include in a summary. So you have these things, but this right here is where I'm going to show you what we kind of did in class. And you'll write this down. You can write it on a separate sheet of paper and take a picture and send it to me, or come and get this and write it down. But either way, it's going to be missing until I see that you've written those things down. Okay, so I'll come back and do that in just a second. And the third thing that you're going to get is a grading table. This again just kind of tells you the things that we're looking for. this is the different part. I am going to grade your practices. Like when it says to bring it up to the teacher, it doesn't say grade yourself. I'm going to grade it, and then I will kind of talk to you about that, and I'll give you those initials. Okay. So essentially what this is going for, you're going to have all 3 of those papers, and we're going to get back to using this, and this is in the Explorers Reading and Writing course in the red folder. It's called Central Idea and Summarizing Practice, and you'll get into this. You're going to see that I already have the Central Idea for Vampires of the Deep on there for you. And so when you get to the summarizing section, you're going to copy and paste this and put it into here. So I know it says do not type here, but it's just yet. Like you're going to type there in a minute. In order to type there, you have to have your Central Idea done. Okay. All right, so this will be copied and pasted in here, and then you're going to end up finishing your summary. And how to do that is in class, we talked about the significant things to include in a summary in the sense of that brainstorming sheet. So I'm going to show you mine really quickly that we did together as a class. So we did Vampires of the Deep. So we wrote that up here because we want to make sure to remember that that's the one that we are doing. And then in checking with the different attributes, we also kind of talked about that. We need to include the format. So the format is an article, but if we look at our our Sandbox notebook, and we see what we actually wrote out about this one, is we said that there was a lot of problem and solution with it. So I feel like that's pretty important to include in there as well. So I put in, it's an article about problem solution. Okay, the next thing it said, we need to have 2 main details within the text to support the central idea. We came up with these. Drill holes into fish. Again, this does not need to be fancy. This is just a brainstorming section. Okay, scientists tried multiple ways to kill them. Chemical finally worked to kill them. And the only reason that sea lampreys were in the lakes is because canals were dug. So having these milestone moments within the piece, those are the most important pieces that kind of keep the text going. And so these are the kind of details that you would want to include in your summary. Now, your summary can only be 3 to 5 sentences long. Your central idea is already 1 sentence. So you really have 2 to 4 sentences left. So you can use some of these. You don't have to use all of it that's in here. Because again, this is just brainstorming. So if there's something in here, you're like, that doesn't make sense, don't use it. That's okay. Okay? So then after we have that done, so you're going to write that down on a separate sheet of paper. And then you can just attach it to this packet when you get back. And you can take a picture of it and send it to me. So that way I know that you did it. If you don't do that, it's going to be as missing until I see it. Okay? And then when you get done doing that, you're going to, on the front, on the checklist, looks like this. We completed that together as a class, so I put today's date. And then the next section that you have to do, the next checklist item, is you have to complete the response for practice 1. And again, that looks like this. So essentially, you are taking this and you're going to copy and paste it down here. And then you're going to continue on with your summary by looking at your brainstorming section, by looking at what to include in attributes of a strong response, and then also looking at the grading table, because that's how you're going to be graded on this particular summarizing. Okay? That's kind of what we're working on. We will continue to work on this because this is basically the time where you get work done at your own pace. And we'll go from there. So make sure you get all the pieces of information that I need. If you ended up doing something at home, take a picture of it and send it to me. Because keep in mind, everything's going to be missing until I see it. Okay? Because again, that's just a reminder to you and to me that I have not seen it and that you were absent and we just need to get you caught up. All right? Okay, awesome. Good luck.